Today on Up Front, a showdown vote coming in the Senate. Republican leaders say they've lost confidence in the elections and ethics administrators. Both men fighting to keep their jobs. Elections Administrator Michael Haas makes his case next on Up Front. Then the big upset in Senate District 10. Just how concerned are Republicans about the election year ahead? Plus, Democratic candidate for governor Mike McCabe on his campaign and what he's hearing on the road.
Covering the issues important to Wisconsin. This is Up Front with Mike Goucher.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Up Front. We could know by Tuesday whether the men who run Wisconsin's elections and ethics commissions will keep their jobs. The state Senate plans to hold confirmation votes for interim elections administrator Michael Haas and interim ethics administrator Brian Bell. Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald and Assembly Speaker Robin Vos say Republicans have lost confidence in both men because they worked for the former Government Accountability Board, the now disbanded agency that preceded the elections and ethics commissions. The lawmakers say the GAB was biased against Republican lawmakers and conservative organizations. But Haas and Bell have the support of their bipartisan boards, and both are fighting to keep their jobs. Haas last week sent a letter to senators defending his qualifications and performance. We are joined now by Elections Administrator Michael Haas. Good to have you on the program.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
So give me the elevator speech here. You're not going to have a public hearing to tell your side, so briefly tell us why you think you should be confirmed by the Senate.
Well, as you alluded to, anybody likes to be judged on their merits and on their qualifications, and in my case, I have a track record, not only the last 19 months when I have actually been leading and managing this agency, but for the 3 years prior when I was the administrator for the Elections Division in the Government Accountability Board. All of the controversy related to the Government Accountability Board had to do with investigations on the ethics side. Nobody has had any single complaint about the way elections are run and the way we assist 1,853 municipal clerks in running elections and how we inform the public about voting laws, the photo ID law, voter registration laws. We have some serious things coming up with foreign government agents continuing to try to interfere with U.S. elections. And we need some continuity. One reason I was appointed in the first place was to provide that continuity. And when I visited with all 33 senators after I was appointed, there was clearly a majority to confirm my appointment.
Do you think that majority exists today?
Well, it's a good question. I don't have a head count. I am trying to reach out to every senator I can. Unfortunately, this Attorney General report has seemed to, some in the Republican Senate caucus seem to need some reassurance. And I think there are problems and flaws in the Attorney General report. A lot of things I was not involved in that the AG's report is critical of. So we'll see when the vote comes on Tuesday where things lie.
One of the things you've been saying is that you played a very limited role in the John Doe investigations when you were with the Government Accountability Board, that in fact maybe you just reviewed or edited some legal documents. And I think you said, and you sent a letter last week, and the letter says in part, my confirmation has become a lightning rod for any complaint ever lodged against the GAB, whether or not it was justified in the first place. So you're saying you're a scapegoat in this in some respects?
Absolutely. I mean, if you're
comfortable with that word?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, some of the justifications that have been stated publicly, there's been, as I mentioned, sort of this vague lack of confidence. Well, we know that's not true. People are not shy about contacting the Elections Commission if they have complaints, and we are not hearing anything of that sort.
You said you had limited involvement in the John Doe investigations, but as someone who worked for the agency, were you proud of the agency's work during those investigations?
Absolutely. I mean, the agency encompasses a lot. Of course, as I said, we have the Elections Administration, which I was more heavily involved in, and then the Ethics Division. And the investigations, you have to remember, these are very complicated. District attorneys provided the Government Accountability Board with evidence and said, well, look, this needs to be looked into under the laws that existed at the time. The GAB was conducting preliminary investigations to determine whether there were any potential violations. And I think all that was done confidentially under the statutes. The campaign finance laws at the time were evolving, they were complex, and the board, the GAB, was led by 6 former judges. The staff would meet regularly with that board and take directions from the board. And they they gave their best legal analysis and direction.
So there are, as you know, Republican lawmakers who are uncomfortable. And I'm wondering if you would respond to what was said by your counterpart, who's in the same position you are for the Ethics Administration, Brian Bell. He worked for the Government Accountability Board from 2012 to 2015. So last week, he holds a news conference and he says essentially that he resigned in 2015 because he thought the GAB had become too partisan. You're part of the organization. Could you understand why a Republican state senator might say, clean slate, we don't want anybody affiliated with the Government Accountability Board?
Well, sure. There's that argument. I would note that when the Elections Commission was created, the legislation specifically said that, with one exception, every staff member of the GAB had a place in either the Ethics or Elections Commission. So clearly at that time, they were not uncomfortable with the idea of GAB staff continuing because they had the expertise to carry through. Mr. Bell, I was his supervisor for over a year, never came to me with any complaints as he is stating now.
Do you think his comments were directed at you in any way?
It's hard to tell. They're pretty general, I think fairly vague. He was not involved in investigations. He was not in the room when they were discussed. And he's entitled to his opinion, but we continually reminded our staff that they were to be nonpartisan. It was required by the statutes, and if he felt uncomfortable at the time, I wish he would have let me know about it.
It's been interesting to watch this process unfold. You've been very public. You've been everywhere in the media. You've got a Twitter, a hashtag, WI like Mike, Wisconsin likes Mike. It's an interesting approach. What did you hope to accomplish with it?
Well, maybe some of this would not have been necessary if we had an opportunity for a public hearing. I think that would have helped me to make my case. The public could weigh in. Senators could have their questions answered if they had concerns. Whichever way the vote goes, at least I feel like I've had a chance to communicate what my qualifications are in running the agency.
If the Senate refuses to confirm you, what's your next step?
I think that's a little bit of uncharted territory. There's some legal issues. The statutes are not quite clear. I've sort of intentionally stayed away from digging into that too much at this point. We're trying to focus on getting every vote we can, making our case, and then see what happens.
All right. Michael Haas is the interim administrator of the State Elections Commission. We appreciate your time today. Thanks very much for being with us.
Thank you, Mike.
Coming up next on Upfront, the Democrats' big win in a Senate race in western Wisconsin. I'll be talking with conservative columnist Christian Schneider about what happened in Senate District 10, plus just how fired up are Democrats. Candidate for Governor Mike McCabe on rising levels of enthusiasm when Upfront continues.
Up Front with Mike Goucher, brought to you by the American Transmission Company.